get a little 6 a.m. cold start. I am sure my neighbors love me right now. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. Hope everyone is having a fantastic morning. We're here, it's about 6 a.m., maybe 6:15. I have to be up in about 2 hours away within about 2 hours time to finally get the windshield replaced. If you haven't been following the channel, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up on the way out. But I smashed my windshield on the very first day of taking delivery of the C8 Corvette on the way back from the dealership. It is what it is. I've vented and complained and cried about it enough on the channel already for the people that are subscribed, so I won't do much of that today. But finally, after 5 months of back order, the windshield is finally here at the dealership and we're going to be replacing it today. I think this is informational content that's useful for any current C8 owners as well as any potential future C8 owners to know what the actual cost and process behind a C8 windshield is. Not necessarily specifically the installation process of the windshield, I won't be filming that, but the costs associated with it and being mindful of what you're getting. There are a couple of different ways you can go about getting your C8 windshield done. The first being the most standard way. You call up your insurance company, they have a list of glass installers within your area, and you go to them, they get the windshield with whichever means they have one available to them, and then they replace the windshield. But for me, the problem is I don't want an OE replacement windshield. I very specifically want the original factory windshield that says Team Corvette and has the Zora logo on the other side. I think that keeps the vehicle authentic and OEM as opposed to having an aftermarket windshield that may be a subpar quality or at the end of the day is just not a factory OEM product. And like all things with the C8 Corvette, the windshield is very hard to get a hold of. Again, I ordered mine back in November when I took delivery of this C8, within maybe 2 weeks of me taking delivery when I smashed the windshield. And from then till now, we're pushing on almost 5 months, which is roughly the time that it really takes to get one of these windshields in hand. And nothing against any of the local glass dealers for sure. I think they've used them in the past and they've been absolutely great. So between the prospect of maybe another shop doing a OE replacement windshield, which back in November weren't even available, now they are. So be mindful of that you are getting the OEM windshield if you are getting your windshield replaced. And so hopefully by the end of this video, everybody gets a good idea about, and so far they've kind of figured out what the windshield process on their C8 would be should they need a replacement, as well as what the out-of-pocket cost is, because apparently in some states windshields aren't a required comprehensive coverage, which they are in my state. And the camera might not pick that up, but the windshield brow itself I'm going to have to pay for again, so that's coming out of my pocket, as well as the cost to ceramic coat just the front windshield glass. And I'll share all those prices with everybody on the channel once I get the windshield done and go through that process in the next week or two. And so with that said, guys, I am going to get out on the road. I'm about 20 minutes or so behind on a 2-hour drive to get up there in time for the glass installer to get me in first thing in the morning. And so for the last time, we are going to see the very special split window 2020 C8 Corvette, because after today, the crack in the windshield will be no more. First things first, we are low on fuel, so let's fill up. Like that, we are here. Alrighty, so we are back. I ended up driving home from the dealership. My intention was to film somewhere over there so it felt a little bit more continuous in the same day. One of the reasons why I opted to end up driving back home was, honestly, I was a little frustrated, upset, and kind of angry. But again, it's a learning lesson, it's a life lesson, you get a lot out of it. One of my personal pet peeves is that I'm always just looking for some base level of respect and, most importantly, honestly. I don't like being lied to, and that's kind of one of the things, not just once, multiple times today that took place. Long story short, the intent of this video was to share what the cost of replacing a windshield on the C8 is, but this is ultimately just going to devolve into me telling people to just be a little bit mindful of what you get into and what the process is. When I had initially talked to the insurance company, the dealership wasn't in their list of glass installers, so basically I had to pay out of pocket and then get reimbursed. But when I got there, the glass installer said that their glass division operates under a slightly different name, still owned by the dealership. Once I called the insurance company, he actually told me, the installer did, hey, call the insurance company and you give them this name, they're going to be able to look it up. We do many of these for that insurance provider. So I called them up, they took the thing, they sent the job or the work order to the glass installer. The glass installer called me, said, we got it, we're all good, you don't have to pay today. Everything's gonna get taken care of behind the scenes. But the service underwriter at the dealership came out over the top and then just started feeding me all these lies. And that, you know, initially I was like, all right, whatever, we'll just do it. But then one lie after another just started piling up. First thing he told me, the way I couldn't do it with the insurance company and the glass installer all handling it, was he said that the dealership doesn't sell parts, or rather the windshield, to glass installers directly. And guys, we all know that is bogus. Dealerships sell windshields to glass installers all the time if the customer is requesting an OEM windshield, which I was, and that's one of the reasons why I went down this path. Next, he said it required a specialty technician, and the dealership is the only one that can write it up. The glass installer can't write it up, when the glass installer is standing right there saying that they've done multiple ones of these and they can write it up. It all came down to him just wanting to write up the service order or the job order himself, as opposed to the glass installer doing it. And it's beyond me why he would really want to do that. If you have an idea, let me know in the comment section below for sure. But ultimately, his desire to write up the work order means that I have to overpay for something and then get reimbursed through the insurance company, which is just a lot more work, and then the insurance company has to process all that just so he can write up the bill. So anyways, while the installer is installing the glass in front of me for the next like hour and 45 minutes, I'm on the phone with the glass installer's office as well as the insurance company, getting all this sorted out. And at the end I was just like, you know what, I'll pay for it out of pocket like I intended. I'll bite maybe, you know, for 2 hours of labor. He finished the windshield within like an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45 minutes tops. Let's just say 2 hours. There's really nothing special to it. They undo the seal around the whole thing like a traditional windshield, put the new windshield in, re-urethane the whole thing, and then seal it all. I was under the impression that the PDR was mounted to the glass, but it really was mounted up to here, and what that meant is there was really nothing else needed there as well. So anyways, I was like, you know what, screw it, let this guy have his moment. I'll just pay it and I'll get reimbursed. We go through, everything's done. The first service also gets done. From the time I gave my keys to the time I got my keys back, including an oil change and them doing a recall on the HVAC hose, there was only about a 3-hour gap between the time I gave my keys and I got my keys back. And I went to the cash window, they put the paperwork together at the service department. That guy's sitting somewhere in the back. The girl at the window rings up the bill and it's like $1,700, and I'm like, hey, well, can I just look at the invoice real quick? And get this, after all this, he billed me for 8.1 hours. And the best part is that the body shop or the service shop that does the windshields isn't even open for 8 hours, let alone 8.1 hours. So that's when I kind of lost it. Like, hey, if you're gonna lie to me, at least make it somewhat passable. I told the girl at the cashier window, hey, bring the guy out, let's kind of, you know, duke it out, let's figure out what's actually going on. I want him to look me in the eye and tell me how he's gonna bill 8 hours for basically a 2-hour job, less than 2-hour job. So anyways, then, you know, I sat there for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. This guy did not want to come out and look at me. Ultimately, I was like, hey, listen, get a manager involved. Like, this is getting to a point where I'm getting a little frustrated here. Didn't even have to explain anything to the manager. He immediately rewrote it all up and adjusted the numbers. But the final number that I paid was $1,438 for the windshield. That includes parts and labors, and we can break down what the numbers were. This is what I paid for it. So if you look at the total right up here, it's $726 for the actual windshield itself, which makes sense. It's pretty much what I expect a factory windshield to cost. They charge about $40 for the fast cure urethane, also makes sense, another part, but then they start adding in some fees such as the pre-scan diagnostic and the post-scan diagnostic, separate to the labor, of $60 a pop. Even the service manager wrote up 3.3 hours instead of like the hour and 45 minutes that the windshield actually took. The other hour and 20 minutes they had my car, it was getting an oil change and a recall looked at. But nonetheless, I was just done arguing with them. The very last charge is, again, one they couldn't really give me a good explanation for, but it is the recalibration for $420. And that's to recalibrate the heads-up display, which again, the guy did in like 5 minutes, and I watched him do it. Hold up, flagrant foul on the court here. That was the explanation that the dealership gave me, but after doing some research once I got back home and in front of the computer, ADAS actually stands for Automatic Driver's Assistance Systems. That includes your forward collision assist, lane keep assist, pedestrian braking, and adaptive cruise control, which if you're familiar with the C8 Corvette, it has none of that. The front parking sensors are in the front bumper, unrelated to the windshield. The blind spot assist is in the side mirror, so there is nothing behind the windshield that fits under the bill for automatic driver's assistance systems on the C8 Corvette. This car just doesn't have any of that. The total came up to $1,438.20. So it is what it is, you know, experiences and lessons learned. If I have to go through doing the windshield again, I am definitely just going to make sure that a dealership orders the glass, and any reputable glass installer is just going to be able to do it. The only reason I went to the dealership was I thought that I was going to get a better experience. So I guess moral of the story, guys, is replacing a windshield really takes about 2 hours of time on the C8 Corvette. But it is done, it's done right, and I don't have to worry about it for a long time. Hopefully this is informative, as well as puts people on some sense of awareness of what to be mindful of in terms of sketchy behavior. And I'm going to chalk this off again. I love the dealership, it's nothing against them. I'm just going to write it off to a bad apple in the service department that decided that him writing up a quote was worth putting a customer through this experience. And at the end of the day, the resolution for me is that if you don't want to look me in the eye and try to justify 8 hours of labor for a 2-hour job, it at least tells me that I'm on the right track and I'm not in the wrong here. Nonetheless, there you have it, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up to offset that service advisor who's going to be the 1 thumbs down that I get right off the bat, assuming he finds this video. And if you have not already, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. It would help this channel and this platform grow. And with that said, until the very next video, I hope to see you all in the comment section below.